It's time for us all to get ready for the 2023 Rugby World Cup quarterfinal starting next weekend in France, and surely there's going to be some amazing games. So in this video, I'm going to start my preview of those games ahead. G'day and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan living here in beautiful Mexico, and boy, have we seen some exciting rugby so far in this year's Rugby World Cup. Now, I for one really enjoyed the pool stages of the Rugby World Cup, and I just think there were so many great games and plot twists and everything else going on, and what a great way to end yesterday as well with that game between Portugal and Fiji. A just absolutely fantastic win by Portugal in that game. But now we start into the next series of really interesting games in this competition, of course the knockout phase, and the first game next weekend is going to be between Wales and Argentina, and that's the game I'm going to preview in this video. Let's see how these two teams between Wales and Argentina made it to their respective quarterfinal. And first of all, we'll start off with Argentina. And they had that first round loss against England, 27 points to 10. And we'll remember that game because that was the game that George Ford stood up in and kicked his way and kicked his teams to victory in that particular game with 14 men on the field. And Argentina started off disappointingly, I think, to say the least, in this year's Rugby World Cup. In that game, they didn't show the potential that we all know that they have as a team. Now, in the next three games, Argentina went on a winning streak. They bet Samoa, first of all, 19-10 in their second game. And Samoa started to build into this tournament. So Argentina, I don't think, faced the best Samoa in this particular game. So it wasn't really a good measurement on how Argentina were going. But once again, they didn't look very impressive in this game. They were put under a lot of pressure by Samoa. And in the end, they were fairly lucky to get away with that game. And then next up, they had the game against Chile, and of course most people thought that it wasn't going to be a problem for Argentina to win that game. 59 points to 5 showed that they had a fairly easy encounter. But again, there was moments throughout that game where Argentina were very lackadaisical and also very inaccurate with some of the things that they were doing. And then the last game, the knockout game against Japan for Argentina. And what a game that was. Every time Argentina went into the lead, Japan came back at them. Yeah, and Argentina got up over top of Japan in that last game by 39 points to 27. But again, it wasn't an Argentina that was showing a dominant display. So that was their roadmap to get to this quarterfinal. Now let's have a look at how Wales got to this quarterfinal. Now, I think it's fair to say that Wales have been building into this tournament. That first game of their tournament against Fiji was a cliffhanger, and a lot of people thought that could have gone the other way. So 32-26 against Fiji, and Wales were up and running. I think that game did them a lot of good because it gave them a battle hardened ready to get into the tournament. And that's the sort of thing that Warren Gatland really likes for his team. And then a game against Portugal, 28 points to 8. Wales won that one comfortably. And we all know now what Portugal were capable of doing in this tournament. So that was a good win for Wales. And then it was the big game for them in this pool, the game against Australia. And boy, did they blow that one out of the water. So against a very poor Australia, Wales dominated that game and ended up winning by 40 points to 6. I thought that was a really good performance by Wales. They were good across the whole pitch, and they really took it to Australia, keeping the pressure on. So both through the forwards and their creativity in the back, scoring some good tries out wide, Wales came away with a comprehensive win. The last game in pool play for Wales was against Georgia, 43 points to 19. They let in a couple of tries at the end, but I think they had this one pretty much sewn up all the way through against Georgia. But it was a good display by Wales, and it showed once again how they're really building into this tournament. So I think they come into this quarterfinal with a lot of momentum, and they played very well throughout the pool stages. Now, what I've decided to do as I do these previews for the quarterfinals next weekend, I've selected some particular elements of the game that I think are going to be really important for us to have a look at. And the first one is injuries. And of course, we said at the beginning of the Rugby World Cup that injuries was going to play a huge role in potentially the outcome of the Rugby World Cup. And let's go through both Wales and Argentina now and see, as of this Monday, what injuries they're faced with before they go into this game. So starting off with Wales's injury list as it stands today, and Philpott, of course, broke his arm unfortunately in that game against Georgia, and his Rugby World Cup is over. So yeah, that's a bit of bad news for Wales and for Philpott. He's had a bad run with injuries in the last few years, and he did break his arm once before, and he's succumbed to that terrible injury again. So he's going to be a big loss for Wales. The other two that came out of that game with problems was Anscombe. Gareth Anscombe got injured before the game, and we never saw him in that game against Georgia. And we're waiting on an update on how that injury is going. And then Liam Williams got injured during the game as well. He went hobbling off. So hoping those are the only injuries to date for Wales. I'll give you an update during the week as the week goes on if anything else comes up for Wales. But Dan Beggar was sitting on the bench for the game against Georgia in the weekend, and we're hoping that he's back ready to go. I think the fact he didn't come on the field during that game showed us that he perhaps wasn't ready, but Wales were getting a little bit tight when it came to available players. So that's the injury list for Wales. Let's have a look at Argentina and how they're coping with things at the moment. One I have on my list as of Monday heading into the game between Wales and Argentina for Argentina is the injury to Pablo Matera, and that's a bad blow for Argentina. He's got a hamstring problem, and Michael Cheika just recently said at a press conference it's highly unlikely that we will see Pablo Matera at the Rugby World Cup again this year. So unfortunate for Argentina. He's definitely one of their best forwards, and of course he's paramount to Argentina in the breakdown area, so they're going to really miss Pablo Matera. But that's the only one I've got on my list so far for Argentina as far as injury concerns go heading into this final week before the quarterfinals. Okay, next topic I wanted to cover as far as lead up to these quarterfinals is the area of discipline. We all know that this is going to be critically important as we get to this really important stage of the tournament. And looking at both teams here, we've got yellow cards for both teams. Wales have had 3 so far in the tournament, and Argentina have had 2. Now the key thing here is, out of the 4 games played, that means Wales has nearly had a yellow card in every game that they've played. So one could say, based on that analysis, that their discipline is a little bit fragile, and I don't think any team can afford to go down to 14 men in the quarterfinal stage of this year's Rugby World Cup without implications happening. So 2 yellow cards for Argentina, and out of the 7 red cards dished out so far at this year's Rugby World Cup, none of them have gone to either Wales or to Argentina. So yeah, discipline's going to be a very big factor, not only with players being sent off the field, but giving the opposition an opportunity to kick points within their half, and that's going to be a really big factor as well. Don't forget, Argentina has Bufali as a kicker, and he's really good at kicking long range penalties. So Wales need to be on their mindset when it comes to discipline in this game. We've also seen a number of scrum penalties given against Wales in this tournament so far, so Warren Gatlin, I'm sure, is going to be making sure that those guys keep focused. We've seen too much power going on too early, and we've also seen a collapsing of the scrum as being a discipline issue for the Welsh team. So we know Argentina's got a big pack, and they'll be bringing it to Wales and looking at dominating in that particular area. So Wales are going to have to remain patient and calm and make sure they don't give away too many penalties. Now the next area I want to look at is goal kicking. We all know that this is another important component of what's going to happen in the quarterfinals. And between Argentina and Wales, well, they're level pegging when it comes to percentage at goal kicking. Both had 14 successful attempts so far in this tournament. So for Wales, we have the likes of Dan Beggar, Gareth Anscombe if he's playing, Lee Halfpenny as well, and Sam Costello. They've all featured in the top 30 of those goal kicking success rates so far in the Rugby World Cup. Whereas on the other side, Argentina rely mainly on Nicolas Sanchez and also Bufali, and there's a good chance that Sanchez will probably start off the bench in this game. So I think Wales have more options available to them from a goal kicking point of view if one of their players is not on the field, or if somebody gets injured during the game and they can bring someone on to keep their goal kicking percentage high, and I think that's going to be a really important factor throughout this quarterfinal weekend. So watch out for the goal kicking and see who brings their kicking boots on Saturday for this game. So having a look at the points scored so far for each team, 143 points Wales have scored so far in this tournament, Argentina 127. So Wales have been a little bit more successful in scoring tries in this tournament, and that could be something that comes down to be a difference on Saturday in this game. So checking out points against each team so far in the tournament, so far Wales have conceded 59 points and Argentina 69. So based on that stat, you say that Wales's defence is probably a little bit better than Argentina's. But once again, it comes down to the game on the day and how those particular players play. But they've been pretty close when it comes to defence accuracy so far in this tournament. Now, another area that I think is going to be really critical on Saturday in this game is the depth of the squad. And I'm going to give this one to Wales. I think they're going to have a deeper squad. Now, I say this from the point of view that they can bring on players to continue their game plan and consistency without necessarily falling away from that, and I think that's something we need to watch out for. It's not only about bringing star players off the bench to make a difference, but if a team is very good at making a game plan, then they need players that can come on and continue that game plan. And I think this is one of Warren Gatland's great strengths as a coach. He can get the entire squad playing towards their specific game plan. So I think the depth of squad is going to go in favour of Wales this weekend, and they're going to have it over Argentina. I've seen Argentina in games before where those reserves come on and their game plan falls away a little bit and they get a little bit rattled and they start to lose their discipline. And if Wales can put the pressure on Argentina by the way that they bring their bench on, I think that's going to make a difference also in this game. Okay, now let's look at the strengths of these two teams that I think they're going to bring to this game. And the first one for Wales is exactly what I just mentioned in terms of their game plan and their accuracy. Gatland turns this team out. They all know what their jobs are and what they're supposed to do on the field, and they go after that. And that's why I think they've had a successful run of 4 games in a row so far at this year's Rugby World Cup. The next strength I'd say for Wales too is their kicking in general play. We've seen a number of 50-22 kicks from Wales throughout the tournament. They've also been very good at highlighting opportunities to do the kick over the top of the defence, and also those kicking ping pong games that we see in some games. Wales have gained more territory than what Argentina have. So I think the strategic kicking during general play is going to be a strength that Wales can use to get territory against Argentina in this game, and then start to put pressure on them from set piece if they're able to do that. The other thing that I think they're really good at in terms of their strength of for this game is their depth of squad, and I've already mentioned that. So those are some of the strengths that I see Wales bringing. What I see from Wales is their attacking abilities when they do get the ball out wide. You've got the likes of Lewis Rees-Zammit, who scored 25 points so far in this year's Rugby World Cup. He's a speedster and he's getting better game by game. I think for a young guy, he's getting more and more belief. And he's got a great art of being able to kick the ball forward, chase it and regather and score tries. And expect him to see more of the ball, I think, for Wales in this weekend's game. But Rio Dyer is another one that can come on and cause some problems, and I think if Dan Beggar is able to manage the backs in this game for Wales, we can see Liam Williams, if he's playing and over that injury, to have a really good game. So when Wales have got the opportunity to throw the ball wide and create some opportunities, George North banging the ball up, getting second phase going, and then getting it out wide to those wingers, I think Wales can really have an impact. So I see another strength of Wales being around that opportunity to attack and having those attacking players in their back line. But I really think the main strength that Wales has over Argentina this weekend is their ability to stick to their game plan and be very consistent across the whole game. And they can just wear this Argentina team down, and when they do get presented with opportunities to put points on the board, this Wales team can do that, and I think that's where they're going to come out on top this weekend. So there's the strengths I see for Wales. Let's have a look now at the Argentinian side. So for Argentina, I think one of their main strengths is their forward pack, and if their forward pack is having a good day and they're going forward and they've got their discipline under control, then they can take on any pack in the world. I don't think we've seen them play at that level so far in this year's Rugby World Cup, so I think it's an area that Michael Cheika is going to be really getting this Argentina team to focus on. So they need to bring their A game in the forwards, and not only from set piece play, but also in the breakdowns. And by losing Matera from this team, I think it's going to have a big knock-on effect to their ability to get clean ball. But I do see the forwards as being a strength for Argentina if they turn up on the day and they all play very, very well. Another strength I see from Argentina when they're on song is their kicking, and they have a very good kicker in Buffelli as far as long-range penalties go. And this game gets tight and they get an opportunity, then expect Argentina to have some shots from 50 or 55 meters out to try and keep the scoreboard moving, and also drop goals. Don't forget, Santiago Carreras is pretty good at drop goals. So I think Argentina can use their kicking as a strength in this game. If they start off well and they're on the front foot and they start putting Wales down into their own territory, then I expect some of that kicking to be pretty precise from the Argentinian team. Okay, time to talk about the perceived weaknesses that I see in these two teams for the Saturday game between Wales and Argentina. And let's start off with Wales and what I see as their weaknesses. The first one is losing Faletau. That's going to be a big problem to Wales. I believe he's a really extraordinary player, and he was really starting to come back into a form after having a couple of runs in this year's Rugby World Cup. So I think Wales are really going to miss him, and replacing him is going to be difficult. So I see that as one of the weaknesses for Wales. The next one is scoreboard pressure, and we saw this against Fiji when Wales were trying to hold on to that lead and Fiji came running back at them and almost taking that game in the last minute. I think Wales can be a little bit susceptible to scoreboard pressure, and other than that game they haven't had a lot of it. So if Argentina do stay close in this game, and I'm talking about even up after half time, then I think Wales are going to be tested, and they probably haven't been tested like that so far in this year's tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform. But what we have seen in that game against Fiji, they didn't. And in that game against Fiji, we saw Dan Beggar getting very, very vocal to the rest of his teammates when they were making errors in that game because of that scoreboard pressure. So expect Dan Beggar, and let's hope he plays in this game, to be a big factor in keeping Wales under control. Now, the last thing I see as a potential weakness for Wales in this game is their discipline. They've got to keep all their players on the field, not only from a yellow card perspective, but also any potential red cards. And because they've had 3 yellow cards so far in the tournament, they are susceptible to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they can ill afford to do that against Argentina, because I think Argentina can and probably will take advantage of that. So that's my last weakness for this Welsh team. Okay, looking at weaknesses now from the Argentinian point of view, and I would say their number one weakness so far in this tournament is their inconsistent play. They haven't been dialed into this year's Rugby World Cup yet, and I think Michael Cheika will be worried about this because they just haven't turned up as we know that they can. They put on some great performances at times throughout the Rugby Championship this year, but this tournament has seen a different Argentina team turn up, and I haven't really put my finger on the reason why. So I think their inconsistency is going to be their major weakness for this game against Wales. Another thing that I've noted down here as far as a potential weakness for Argentina is their combinations have not really been working. Even in the game against Chile, they had a lot of drop ball and missed out passes, and they seem to be rushing things. And I like the way that Nicolas Sanchez makes a difference, but I don't know whether he's even going to get selected for this game, because Cheika seems to have something for Santiago Carreras, and we'll probably see him in the number 10 jersey. And he is a great player, but he just hasn't been playing in form in this tournament. And one of the issues that a lot of teams have is they're not playing players in their right position who are in form at the moment. And Argentina will need to do this against Wales, that's for sure. So look for the combinations as being a weakness for Argentina in this game, just not clicking, particularly in that back line. And that's something we've seen so far throughout this Rugby World Cup with them. And then the last perceived weakness I see in this Argentinian team is their fitness level. And you might be surprised in me saying that after they've played 4 games in this year's Rugby World Cup. But I don't think this Argentina team is somebody that can go up against the best teams in the world for 80 minutes and survive. So I think in that last 20 minutes we might see an opportunity for Wales, and if they are behind at that stage, then I wouldn't put it past them to be able to come back and run over the top of Argentina. So I expect the Welsh to have a bit bigger and better fitness level in this game against Argentina, and I do see it as one of the Argentina's perceived weaknesses in this game. So there we go, a really interesting game to kick off the quarterfinals on Saturday. Kickoff time is 1700 local time in Marseille in France, and it's going to be a great game, I think, to get the quarterfinal weekend underway, isn't it, seeing Wales play Argentina. If you haven't understood it by now by watching this video, I'm going to pick Wales to beat Argentina in this game. I think their trajectory in this World Cup is going in the right direction. I think Warren Gatland's got this team pumped and primed for this quarterfinal game, and I'm just hoping that loss of Faletau is not going to have too much of an impact. But I think Argentina are going to come in with a little bit of motivation and inspiration from that win against Japan. They got there in the end, and that was a pretty tight game for them. So if things get tough against Wales, I think Argentina are going to be able to hang in there for a while. But I'm expecting a win by Wales by at least 10 points in this game. And I'd love to know what you think in the comments. So why don't you drop me a note here, let me know, and all the other listeners of my videos, who you think is going to win this game between Wales and Argentina in quarterfinal number 1 from Marseille on Saturday. Okay, so there we go, that's my views. I'm going to be back again really soon. Keep the comments coming, keep them respectful. Remember to check your comment before you post it, because if it's disrespectful, I'm going to delete it. We're not here to give other people a rude time. We're here to show the love for rugby we have against the world, and that's what the spirit of the Rugby World Cup is all about. As I said, I'm going to be back tomorrow with another video on the previews for this coming weekend's quarterfinal game, so stay here on Inside Rugby with Mark. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get into it, folks. We've got a cracker weekend coming up at the Rugby World Cup. Okay, until my next video, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.